Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and right behind me is Brandon Grimm. Hello, Brandon.
Hello, Captain.
And I thought maybe your mic was muted, and then I remembered we're sharing one. And then look, it's DJ Martinez.
My mic is not muted.
Good. Well done. We're off to a rousing start. So thanks as always to my chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're here with me as well, Brandon. We're going to chat with you guys again for another hour or so. We're not going to do a goal tonight for an extra long show. DJ and I have some other things we need to shoot after this, so we're going to make this originally we had planned on doing probably 2 hours tonight, but we're going to keep it to about an hour. Might go over a little bit just depending on what questions look like. Tonight we're going to have a main topic, and then as we often do, we'll let you guys fill in with questions about anything and everything you want to talk about. But the main thing I want to chat about tonight is the next-gen consoles. I haven't talked about this at all, and I'm not super knowledgeable about this. This might be as much of me learning as talking about stuff I know already, so I want to just go up front and say I'm not an expert on this, so I could make some mistakes in some of the things that I'll mention, and there's probably a lot of stuff I don't know about. But I don't want to just do like nitty-gritty everything about what that was loud. Everything about what's happening with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but I want to talk specifically about physical media versus digital media coming into the next gaming era, and specifically, you guys, how I'm feeling about the trends and the direction that we're going in losing physical media, but also how oddly slow we also seem to be in making that transition. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. I'm really conflicted about the whole thing, and this came up in a conversation I was having with the Discord the other day when somebody mentioned possible price points. We don't know for sure, by the way. I don't think what either of the consoles are going to cost yet, but it was revealed at the PlayStation conference that they had recently, along with the really super sleek-looking look of the console. Oh my god, it's pretty. I want one just because of what it looks like. I don't even know how much stuff I'm going to play on that, but it just looks too cool not to have in my house. They're making a big deal out of how futuristic they're trying to go with this new one, and yeah, it looks like something out of Star Trek. It's maybe a little too Abrams Star Trek, but it's really cool looking.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. I would agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked about it. But anyway, so but anyway, so it was revealed that there were going to be two models of that. One is going to have a disk drive, and the other one isn't. And the one with a disk drive is going to cost you quite a bit more, probably $100 more. But we don't know exactly what the price points are. So I was a little surprised to hear that there would be such a discrepancy between those price points. And we've been talking about that in the Discord, and so I want to chat about that tonight. Feel free to go ahead and start leaving DJ questions. We'll do as many pre-written things as we can get to, but if you want to make sure that we get your question or your topic talked about on camera, discussed on air, you can leave a super chat for any dollar amount, and that helps us to kind of keep things chugging along here on the channel. We are, these days, mostly funded by the audience, and you guys are wonderful. Anybody who has ever done that and will ever do that, but don't feel like you have to, we'll do as many things as we can, as many pre-written things as we can as well. So there's my normal, boring opening spiel. Welcome, everybody. Let's see who's in the comments right now, shall we? I see Blue Dragon 5 and Noah O. Bob Kane is a fraud is back. Welcome. Good to see you, man. There's Daddy Longlegs. There's Mutale. Daddy Longlegs says you don't even play video games very much. Well, that's true, but I still have opinions about the trends in media and stuff, and also
play a lot of older games.
Yeah, but that's also and also retro-esque games, right?
Yes.
Like, all of this is part of why I don't play video games as much anymore, and part of what I want to talk about. I don't feel like a lot of this stuff is for me anymore. That's one of the things I kind of want to chat about a little bit. Mutali says, "Hey Brandon, why no suit?" Because I didn't tell him to, and if I don't tell Brandon to dress up, he just doesn't. He just doesn't do it.
Pretty much. Well, you've also told me before that you don't dress up every time, and don't make that the default.
I told you that we don't dress up necessarily every time. We do usually. Yeah.
Well, I will try to keep something around. I'll have to get something. I only have like 1 or 2 dress-up things anyway.
We do. I always have to send DJ a message if we're not dressing up. But
this is my default.
yeah, but like, you're not always here, and I don't want to tell you that you have to do things, so I just don't even bother with it. But yeah, so I didn't mean to leave you out or nothing, Brandon, but it just didn't even occur to me to mention it to you. So anyway, so let's go ahead and just jump right into that topic, and then we'll start answering you guys' questions here in just a few minutes. So, like I said, there's going to be with the new PlayStation, with the PS5, which is, by the way, if I get either of them, the one I'll get. Eventually, I'm sure I'll have to end up with one. Miles Morales Spider-Man is going to come out for the holiday. I don't know if I'm going to get a machine and play that right away. It's hard to even tell how big of a game that is, and if it's kind of a stopgap thing or the real honest-to-God sequel to the last Spider-Man game. There's been a lot of debate about that. I don't think anybody fully knows what exactly that's going to look like, and if it's like, some people are saying that it's sort of like some of these like extra Uncharted games, where it's not like a full-blown Uncharted game, but it's kind of like extra DLC that's big enough that it makes sense to put it in one package and charge people one money for it. So I don't know what that's going to look like, or if that's going to be a system seller, but it looks like it might be a launch title because of how early it's going to come out. So when I do get a new system, it will almost certainly be the PS5, partly because, at least with this last generation, there have been a lot more exclusives that I've cared about on the PlayStation when I have bought and played video games, and there just wasn't really anything, and a lot of, Xbox, a lot of Microsoft fans complained about this too over the last several years with the Xbox One, that there just have not been enough system sellers for that. So they're both really great systems, but a lot of the great stuff that you would play on Xbox, you could also play on PlayStation. So there's really not a really great reason to have both of them, and hopefully that will be that will not be the case this next time. I say hopefully. I mean, I don't want to necessarily have to buy two.
I was going to say, like,
but for,
you're
at least
increasing your cost to own.
That's true. But for Microsoft fans, I feel bad for them that they're not getting more, great exclusive stuff, and that if they can only afford one, and they've always been kind of loyal to that brand, they're missing out on stuff on PlayStation, like the Spider-Mans, like the Uncharted's, things like that. So. Anyway, I am probably going to get that. I was surprised to hear that the Xbox has apparently better storage capacity, but is not as fast with its loading speeds. And so the specs I heard about, and I don't know anything about specs, so I can't like quote them here, but the specs I heard about, I was researching this a little bit earlier today, make it sound like the PS5 is going to have nearly no loading times, and that it's going to break the Xbox kind of out of the water with that. So there's other kind of technical reasons maybe to get that over the Xbox, but that's still a great system, and it's going to have, or at least it sounds like it, and it is going to have more storage capacity. It is going to be a smaller box if you care about that, if you don't want it to take up too much space, and that sort of thing. But I don't know, it's just not as sleek. It seems like they've also improved both controllers a little bit. But anyway, I wasn't planning on talking about all that stuff, but then I read about it, and I wanted to mention it really quickly.
The Xbox is going to live up to its name as a box.
As a box, yeah.
It's like a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a slightly larger GameCube with a big fan on the top. That's what it looks like.
I was actually surprised at that design choice.
I was too, yeah. But it kind of makes sense because everything's getting nearer and nearer to just being a dedicated, like, kind of computer. And that's kind of the direction gaming has been going for the last, decade and a half. So, like, I get why they're thinking about it that way.
Yeah, but there are prettier computers, too. Like, you can do a box right. Or you can do a box.
I don't think it looks bad.
But it's just
they're
weird.
They're just going with a real streamlined kind of look. But anyway, so like I said, a little surprised to find that there's probably going to be a big price discrepancy between the PS5 that has a drive, the one that doesn't, and that the Xbox Series X is not going to have a version without the drive, because it seems to me like what has happened here. And again, this is not really my field, my purview, so I could be wrong about things. But my guess is what happened was they upset a lot of people several years ago when they put out that initial, or they were talking about the initial system they were going to put out, and everybody was really upset about it and disliked it, and it sounded like the people were going to be kind of like spied on and stuff with that system. You remember that whole thing? And if memory serves, that wasn't, I can't remember if it was going to have an optical drive or not, but it seems like they're trying to learn from their mistakes from last time and just give people what they wanted before, but a little better. And it seems like PlayStation is trying to be more innovative and look at kind of where things are going, but also they don't want to alienate people that still like physical media. So they're offering you both, whereas Microsoft is giving you a thing that just is both in the first place instead of having two. I kind of think that, so it seems like they're trying to learn from their mistakes from before. But the thing is, things have changed a lot in the last 6 or 7 years. And I get why you were going to put off a lot of people back then if you tried to get away with not having a drive. Right now, I feel like this is the generation to get away from it. And I can't believe I'm saying that because I love physical media. And I don't really want to get to a place where we don't have that. But I don't think you can put the genie back in the bottle. We're in a place now where the only reason to buy a game on a disc, well, there's a couple, is you're a collector and you like having them and you want to show off boxes, but also because you don't have to store quite as much stuff on a hard drive. At the same time, it's kind of a pain if you don't store everything that you have on a hard drive, even if you do have discs, because they don't load anymore directly from the disc. You have to download. You have to download the game from the disc into the system in the first place, and then you still have to put the disc in with a lot of things in order to play the game. Right?
So
what's up?
Can I say it's odd to me as well that the Xbox should be the one that keeps the physical drives, because Microsoft itself has gotten largely away from optical drives in their other areas, like computers and things like that.
But with this, I guess it's not that surprising, again, because they're trying not to alienate gamers that they started to alienate last time with the Xbox One.
And I get that, but it seems like a lot
with
of
that
those,
initial announcement.
A lot of those people are the ones who are just fine with removing the physical media from the other side.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly what I'm saying, is that I don't think that's a problem now like it was 7 years ago.
Right. And I would agree with that, but why would Microsoft not listen to, what their big sellers in the computer area for their gaming system as well?
But the thing is, I also get having one console that still has the drive this time around as sort of a stopgap measure, I guess. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I think they totally could have gotten away with not having it at all, and I don't know why it's there except trying to keep GameStop in business. Like, I don't totally understand the point of it now, because most people are especially younger people are fine just downloading games and don't feel the need to have a physical catalog. A lot of people like me that prefer to have a physical catalog are not happy with the way it's physical anymore anyway, and we know that the writing is on the wall. We know that it's not going to be too long before we can't buy physical anyway. So those of us that are still going to buy video games regardless in like next generation after this one surely will be completely away from optical drives. We all know this is coming. We're all kind of ready for it. So, I don't know who exactly you're satiating with this. I guess it's nice to still have games on a disc so that if something happened to your hard drive or whatever, you'd still have a physical copy and you could put it in and then re-download it later. I mean, there are clearly still reasons to have physical media, and once again, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I wish we could stay with that, but I know inevitably we're not going to. And the future is probably also cloud gaming, or at least some mixture of both. We're not quite there yet, but a lot of people are saying, it's not going to be that long, a few years, maybe 10 years before speeds are fast enough that I guess it's going to, like we talked about a couple weeks ago on this, it's going to also somewhat depend on people's the internet speeds and things. So like more people are going to have to get to where they can handle cloud gaming with their bandwidth and stuff. But we're also heading in that way too. We're just going to get to a place where you're not going to be able to buy a physical game. I don't really know what the point is of not going ahead and doing it now. It was premature a few years ago. I don't know that it is now, as much as I hate getting away from it. So that's kind of my speech on the whole thing. So yeah, we can start taking questions now, and if anybody else wants to take us back to that and do any follow-ups, and if anybody has any anything they want to clarify about stuff that I said, or anything that you want to kind of rebut me on, because I think what's going to end up happening is that cheaper model is going to sell really well, and not enough people are going to buy that disk drive for it to have made any sense to make it in the first place. If it's a $500 or $550 price tag, and that's what it's got to be somewhere in there, versus the $400 to $450 that is estimated for the non-optical version. I just don't. What is the market for that? Like the people that are still wanting discs and wanting to be able to buy and trade discs tend to be people that are trying to buy games more on the cheap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, aftermarket, after it's first sold.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, so if your bigger seller ends up being the one without the optical drive, then you get more people who are looking to only put games out, digitally only, rather than, on a physical media too. So you have less of that, which drives the sales down for the optical drive, once again compounding the problem.
Stacey says, I think GameStop is a big reason people stop buying physical. I don't know how big that is. People obviously don't like GameStop, and I'm with you there. It's not a good company. They're doing a lot of crazy stuff. It's true, and it's no fun to walk into one of those stores. Much of the time, it depends on the stores, certainly. But their corporate is wild. That's all I'll say about that. But if GameStop was like a great, brilliant company, I think they would still be in rough shape and fighting to stay above water, just because of the way that the game making companies, the developers, have been pushing digital more. It's just a lot cheaper. Like they don't have to package as many games and send them out. They don't have to go through a middleman like GameStop. So I think that's inevitable. I think that would have happened anyway. Maybe not as quickly. It's kind of hard to say. And I don't know, if GameStop's business practices were better, they might have been able to help it limp along a little bit longer, like comic shops have for physical flat comic books. But anyway,
Blue Dragon 5 said he would love a book on Cap's war with GameStop.
There's not a lot to tell there. There are way more interesting stories I've heard from other people that have worked in and managed GameStops. Check out. There's a channel I watch from a guy who used to work for GameStop, who does kind of like a whistleblowing channel where he finds out everything he can from people at GameStop, but also other apparently wretched retail companies, and reads their stories and verifies them as well as you can, but you can't always be for sure. And he's always come out and said and admitted when things turned out to not be true when he found out about them. He seems pretty above board. But his channel is Camelot331. He has blown up in the last year and a half, and some of the stories that he tells are from his own experiences, but also other people's in GameStop and Wal-Mart and other places are just absolutely insane, and unlike anything I ever had to deal with. I never dealt with like managers having sex in a bathroom and stuff like that. Like he talks about all kinds of just nuts, so crazy things. And whenever his videos get into fecal matter territory, I always have to turn them off. It's just inevitably one of those stories always comes up. Just disgusting like bathroom cleaning stories. I can't deal with it.
I worked at a place that's got a story like that, and I'll spare you, but I've been there.
So, Daddy Longlegs, when you were talking about the Spider-Man game earlier, clarifies apparently that Insomniac has confirmed that it's a full standalone game. Miles will have his own swinging style and different fighting mechanics. Story-wise, we know it takes place a year after Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah, and I've read that too. It's just even after we found that out, I'm still hearing people saying, "But how big of a game is it? Like, is it the technical proper sequel to that game, or is it more like, and I don't know. I guess I don't totally get why people are saying, a kind of bigger standalone DLC as opposed to a full game. I guess we'll see what the price point looks like, because I'm still hearing people saying they think that might end up being what it is, even though they're saying full standalone game. Because I think that they could get away with saying that, and it could still be a thing that feels like a shorter, could have been DLC thing. And I get what you're saying, that it's got that it's supposed to have different mechanics and things, but might it be, if not sort of like DLC, might it be more of like an Arkham Origins versus an Arkham Knight, that sort of thing? I don't think we know for sure if we're supposed to count that as the proper sequel to that game. However, I'm skeptical of that whole thing, because I think it would be really weird to try to sell the system on it and it not be as big as that first game. So I'm just saying I don't know for sure, but I'm more with you. I will be real surprised if people are right about that and that it is that, being that they're trying to treat it like a system seller. I don't know.
Real quick, people are saying I'm sounding like I'm in a tunnel tonight. Is that same kind of tinny problem we've had before coming through your side?
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
I just want to make sure they can hear me. Let me know how I sound, guys.
You should be fine now. I had you accidentally doubled up in two audio channels. That's why that happened.
Okay, no worries. And then, real quick, and there are some super chats that aren't about the topic that I'm going to get to. I skipped, but
That's all I said. You sound like Zordon. Maybe we should just leave you that way. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. John Ty gives us a $20 super chat. It just seems to be that times are changing for the next-gen games to be on digital. There is a Captain Kirk quote where he said, "If change is inevitable, predictable, beneficial, doesn't logic demand that you be a part of it?"
Yeah, that is from the end of Mirror Mirror, which is doesn't logic demand you be a part of it? Yeah, which is my favorite TOS episode. So I don't want to go as far as to say that all change is progress and we should immediately accept it just because it's inevitable. That's not what I'm saying with this. At the same time, like, I can deal with it and not like it, you know? Like, if I don't like it enough, I could just decide not to play digital games at all and just have nothing. But we're gonna get to a place where I'm not.
Systems.
Yeah, we're gonna get to but I mean new stuff. We're gonna get to a place where I'm not gonna be able to get physical games. And also, I should note that, just for my part, a lot of the kinds of things I like to play, or that I probably would enjoy that I haven't looked at yet, are like smaller budget things, or not big AAA titles that are being mostly put on digital anyway and don't have physical releases, or if they do, have really limited runs that are hard to get your hands on. There's a lot of that kind of thing from like really small third-party developers that will make that will put out like a real limited run. Maybe they'll do a Kickstarter. They'll make like 5,000 copies, and that's all you get. And those can be really hard to get your hands on if there's enough interest in the game, or just digital stuff that never went physical in the first place. And so the irony is, for me, the stuff that I still can get a disc of is the stuff I'm not playing, a lot of it. And that's the thing, is that for a lot of collectors, I think probably have this problem where the stuff they'd really like to collect is not the stuff that's being put out as the stuff that everybody's playing, that aren't necessarily actually collecting video games. Thanks a bunch, by the way, for that super chat. I want to make sure that I covered his whole super chat well enough, though, because I kind of went off on a collecting rant there.
I think you covered it. He just said it just seems to be that times are changing for the next gen games to be on digital.
Yeah,
the Captain Kirk quote.
And something that you've talked about before too is that when everything goes all digital, at some point there's going to be a time when you can't get these titles anymore, like period. And like people, Like, unless you already have a copy of it, and then there won't be people playing these on the other end, and you won't be able to play them anyway.
Yeah, and this was ground, honestly, Brandon, that I didn't really want to go back and cover again too much, because we've been talking about this whole thing a lot lately.
Sure.
So like the whole, we could run down a whole rabbit hole again of like why it's still worth having physical media, and we've been talking about this a lot. The point I'm making is, regardless of like we've made all those arguments already,
Sure.
it's still happening. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all.
Like if there's enough demand, you'll get some physical stuff still from some companies as long as there's still a drive. But I mean, again, it's still not gonna. It's still just going to be kind of a token disc that you didn't need anyway.
Right.
That doesn't really load from the disc. Like, it's not going to be what I want it to be.
Right,
so I'm just saying, like, I guess to his Kirk quote, I am kind of accepting it at this point. I am sort of throwing my hands in the air and going, I'm not going to be able to be the kind of collector I want to be anymore with this kind of thing. So I kind of wish the companies would just embrace it and not kind of halfway do it. Like, I think it's kind of time to just get past it. If we're past, I just think we're kind of past it already. Is the argument I'm making?
Certainly.
So TH1 pops in, says, "Sorry I'm late. With more and more people switching."
It's just that's what that's the thing is that's what 85-90% of gamers are doing.
Right.
And somebody asked me to compare this to movies or talk about this with movies. And again,
Yeah.
I think maybe Stussy mentioned that. Somebody mentioned that. Again, this is ground I don't want to go back and rehash too much of stuff I've talked about before, like why I still like to collect physical media. We're going to get to a place where this is going to happen with movies too. Where
It was James.
Oh, James, excuse me. Thanks for the comment. We're probably still farther away from it now because old people still watch movies. I think one of the only things keeping physical media alive for film and television at all is older people that are not bothering with streaming services. I sometimes talk to elderly folks or people quite a bit older than me anyway, who don't even understand what on demand is. Even now, this is still happening, where they'll hear people say Netflix, they'll hear people say Hulu, but they don't know what the difference is between that and just watching television, and it confuses them. And if they get a smart TV or a Roku or a Fire Stick or something and try to play with that, they're like, well, I don't understand what the difference is between this and just having channels on television. I've got a great uncle that I talked to about this over the weekend, and it blew his mind when I showed him that all of the Turner Classic movies that he's constantly trying to tape on TV, he can watch if he gets HBO Max. He goes, wait, I can watch them anytime? I'm like, yeah, buddy, and you could do that with stuff going all the way back to like 2011 with Netflix and other services. And he's like, oh, I didn't understand that's what that was. He was just like, it's so complicated, I don't understand what smart TVs are. He was like, I got a smart TV, it had all these things I had to load, I don't understand them. You and I met a woman over the weekend.
I was just going to mention that, yeah. I bought a
at
TV from
a
a woman.
yard sale that was going through all this. She was just like, oh, it's so complicated loading all these things. And I had to kind of break it down for her. And I said, yeah, but what you have to understand is some of that complication is there's no way to get around because you have to have a subscription to these things already, and they're all owned by separate companies. You have a lot of people who just don't understand the inner workings of it, so they think that it's needlessly complicated. And some of this stuff is maybe a little bit more complicated than it needs to be.
Sure.
But some of it, in order for the business to even work, is going to be a little hard to figure out for people that are not in the loop and not dealing with on a regular basis, because we're in the middle of the streaming wars. This is not all owned by a couple of companies.
As you've said before, though, the streaming platforms different. Their user interfaces. Some of them are easier to use than others, and that can make or break a platform, especially for a demographic like, say, an older person. The easier your platform is to use and get the content, the more people you're going to have being able to do it across a wider range of ages.
Tyler Parker says old people are just dumb, and I don't know if he's joking or if he's serious about that, but I
know
think
some dumb old people. It tracks. It checks out.
I know dumb young people too. I don't think that's fair though. The older you get, the more set in your ways you get, and I worry all the time.
Yeah.
Or at least it's very easy to fall into that trap. Yeah, and I worry about getting out of touch with things myself, just as I get older, and that I'm not, fully understanding how things are working. And we talked last week about all the terminology with fan outrage and stuff that I just can't even keep track of. That there are words that when people use them, I still have to go look up because I'm just not there. I'm not getting what people are talking about because I'm not in the middle of that all the time, and because it wasn't there when I was younger, in my more formative years, if you can say that. So I don't know. I want to be fair and kind of realize that everybody has their own unique background, and that they haven't gone through all the stuff you've gone through that would necessarily make you as savvy as you are about these things. There are going back to video games, there are whole genres of games that I've never been able to get into just because I didn't grow up with them, and so I look like and feel like a complete idiot if I sit down and try to play one because I just wasn't there. And some of those things, like RPGs and stuff, can be really difficult to get into at 35 in a way they wouldn't have been if I'd started at 8.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. That's why I don't play a lot of these newer generation consoles, or when I do, I'm terrible at them. Don't get me wrong, I would play them if I had more of an opportunity, but I don't usually get that opportunity.
Well, I didn't realize we were already half an hour into the show. I apologize for my lengthy tangents.
Yeah, we're way behind on questions. TH1 popped in and says, sorry I'm late with more and more people switching to digital. How long before secondhand companies like GameStop goes out, and how will box stores like Walmart recoup the loss of physical? You're awesome.
Hey, thanks so much. Well,
we kind of talked about that.
Walmart, being a box store that sells a lot of different kinds of things, can just get into something else, or push something else they have already harder. They could expand a section. You know what I mean? Walmart could very easily.
More Legos.
Well, I was going to say toys. Yeah, I mean, places like Walmart and Target, even Best Buy. When something stops being made, it wouldn't be that difficult for them to just expand in different areas. We don't have Toys R Us anymore. There's no reason that Walmart or Target couldn't more fill a void that is still there from that being gone. There's a lot of specialty items and things or more specialty things that didn't used to feel specialty that do now, because you can't just go out and get one. You have to order it online. That they could get into. I think Walmart could easily expand their toy sections by 3 to 4 aisles right now. Mm-hmm. And do very well with stuff they're just currently not keeping in stock. So I don't think box stores are going to be affected by this at all. Well, maybe not at all, but it wouldn't take them that long to get probably back up to the money they were making before this happened. GameStop is dead already. They're losing insane amounts of money all the time, and are dragging their feet and doing every crazy thing, in my opinion, they can to not only stay open but look like they're still successful. If they didn't have the insane business practices that they have, maybe they could have been smart and gotten into something else and managed to survive at least a little longer. Of course, their business model that part of it's nobody's fault. It's just like Blockbuster. That wasn't sustainable. At some point, that was going to fall apart. Just because you're going to get into an area that doesn't need what you're selling anymore. Same thing with something like Radio Shack. What are you going to do? You have to completely rebrand at some point, and not even call yourself that anymore. They have to just become a completely different company. But they should have already gone the way the dinosaurs, just like Toys R Us did. But they're doing they're doing other things in order to keep their stores open that actually don't even have anything to do with video games. So that's why they're still there. They shouldn't be. They have basically gone bankrupt and just aren't telling anybody about it. It's not actually bankruptcy, but it ought to be. It might as well be.
So a good example that you were mentioning, like with Best Buy and other places like that, is the car audio section. Like Best Buy used to have such a huge, and they do installations on your car too. But these days, even the most basic models of cars come with higher end audio systems. And they're integrated. You're just not replacing the stereo heads like you used to. So they had to get rid of those and fill in with other things.
Yeah. But again, a bigger store is easier to do that with. GameStop is kind of like comic shops in that there's a built-in clientele already, and when they're no longer interested, you would have to replace them with a completely different clientele. It gets, or at least something with some overlap, but maybe not enough. Somebody asked about they're trying to get into comics, which we talked about a few years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, and that didn't seem to go anywhere. They tried it in a couple of stores, and I guess it didn't do well enough for them to consider expanding. But every idea they've had has not seemed like the thing, to me anyway, that would save them. They've talked about getting into retro games again, and they've talked about doing like mini arcades and stuff. I just don't think that would keep them alive. And also, I think that their mentality of how they treat customers would have to change to even sustain that, because they're not really about keeping people in the store in order to have a good time. They want you to come in, and they want to take as much money from you as possible, and then they want you to leave. And I don't see that mentality at the top changing. But anyway, I know I sound really negative and cynical when it comes to GameStop, and it's just because it's not
every time.
It's not run well. At the corporate level. So anyway, but let's move on. Let's talk about something else.
All right. TH1 asks, what announced games are you looking forward to?
Honestly, not a whole ton yet. I mean, there's some things that look kind of fun in franchises that I've still never really bothered with. Like that new Ratchet and Clank game looks amazing, but I've never played one of those. So, I mean, I would want to go back and play a couple of those before I bothered with that. Obviously, I'm interested in more Spider-Man, because that was a great game. But beyond that, I haven't been keeping up super well.
I'm going to go back to some that I skipped because they're not on the topic. Logan Dodd, since being a parent, are there films, shows, or books, etc., that you loved before but now appreciate less?
Not really. I am kind of a nostalgic person, and I have a tendency to go back and look at things from my childhood. There are a few things that I've kind of kept in the closet and not gotten out because I know they probably don't hold up, and I don't want to find out that they don't. And so I've maybe not actively avoided showing those things to my kids. Stuff like, Homeward Bound and Incredible Journey, things like that, that I'm just like, or Dennis the Menace, things where I'm like, I watched these things 1,000 times when I was a kid. I'm assuming they don't hold up well. I have this odd phenomenon too, often whenever I go back to something like Hook, which is still a good movie, where I simultaneously feel like I'm seeing it for the first time and remember every single frame of that movie, like all at the same time. Because I'm looking at it with new eyes, and I'm a different person than I was the last time I saw it, so, like a very different person. So this is a really surreal experience, where I feel like I'm looking at it from two completely different lenses simultaneously. But I've already had that experience with most of the things that I have gone back and shown my kids, that were things that I watched when I was a kid. So, like, I know that 87 Ninja Turtles doesn't hold up the way that I kind of wish it did, because I was able to take that show more seriously when I was a kid. Obviously, I still actively watch Power Rangers, so I get that whole thing, and DJ and I have to hold that to a completely different standard when we're talking about that. So, like, I was already doing that. So yeah, there's really not anything that my kids have gone to that I've been like, oh God, now that you're bringing that back, this is not holding up, and I'm not having any fun watching it, And so Jason didn't have that thing where he would watch the same thing over and over again 1,000 times like a lot of kids do. Freddie does do that, but the nice thing is I don't tend to be around too much when he's rewatching movies. So, like, he'll rewatch his favorite episodes of certain shows during the day when we, give him time to watch TV. We try not to have our kids sitting in front of the TV all day long. And that stuff, Pokemon and Llama Llama and shows like that, I'm not actively watching with him, so if he rewatches episodes, it's not really a big deal to me. But he might have turned me off to certain Pixar movies and stuff like that, because he likes to go back and rewatch the Toy Stories over and over again. He's one of those kids. But I don't... Usually he's doing that when I'm making a show or something in the evening, so he hasn't ruined any movies for me just watching them too many times. So that's good. See, I haven't had that experience too much.
Cool. This is from ReapyCheap775.
I don't recognize that name.
Hey, Cap.
What's up?
After watching TOS,
Reapy
would you recommend...
Sorry, what?
That's a Pokemon, I think.
Oh.
No, is ReapyCheap from Narnia? Is he the mouse from Narnia? Anyway, Hey, Cap,
Is it possible it's both? No, I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Hey, Cap, after watching TOS, would you recommend that a first-time viewer watch the animated series or jump straight into the motion picture?
Well, that could be 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Because motion picture is boring and animated series is just odd and kind of off-putting, and there's some fun things to be had in that, but I have never thought of that as canon. It's really goofy, and I get that there's other Star Trek, here and there that you could describe as goofy, but it's a horse of a totally different, 2D drawn animated color. But with after TOS, if you actually liked that show, but you've never seen any other Star Trek movie, to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, I can see a couple different things. I would honestly go to Wrath of Khan, and I would watch the trilogy of TOS movies, starting with Wrath of Khan, going into Search for Spock and Voyage Home, and then maybe go back to motion picture later, just because that might be kind of off-putting, because it's such a bloated mess. I like a lot of things about that movie, but it's paced really poorly, and if you've heard anything about that movie, you've probably heard this, but it was rewritten and reshot like crazy, and so it's just not the piece it should have been, and it's kind of difficult to really appreciate if you didn't grow up with it and you don't already have some kind of nostalgia for it. But I wouldn't say never watch it. I just don't know if that's the next thing I would go to. If you had to pick between those two things, though, I don't know. Maybe I'd say motion picture over an animated series. I just it's kind of this odd curiosity to me before it's like a real Star Trek series. Sweet,
I was right. Rippy Cheap is the mouse from Narnia,
and not a Pokemon. Okay, but I'm sorry, Brandon. I don't know if you have an opinion on
that. Well, since I haven't seen any of the animated
have
series,
you not seen any of it?
Not any of it.
Oh, okay.
But
I didn't realize that.
You have told me enough about it. You have said enough.
If we didn't kick him out over not knowing DS9 very well, I don't know why we would have kicked him out over that.
Right. How you've described it over the years, I do want to see it, but I would have to say I would probably vote for the motion picture over the animated series.
And it is a gorgeous movie, as David points out. He says, "Don't dig on motion picture. That 75-minute introduction to the Enterprise is great." Yeah, but the key phrase there is 75 minutes. I've always said it's not actually that long, but it feels like it. I've always said that motion picture would be a better movie if you cut out the last 6 hours, or maybe the middle 6 hours. But anyway,
I think it still deserves to be seen on a big screen, though.
Absolutely, yeah. All right. How many super chats do we have right now, man?
7 or 8.
But it would have made a better fourth movie. Like, if you'd had 2, 3, and 4 first, it would have made a better fourth movie, I think.
I mean, story-wise, it wouldn't really make any sense that way. I don't agree with that either, Brandon, because because it's such a feeling out how do you make this TV show into a movie.
Well, yes, it is that.
It has that whole weird pilotitis thing where it was a TV show pilot script that they were making the show, and then midstream it turns into a movie, and so it feels like the beginning of a thing that you never finished, and that you killed off new main characters for what should have been a long-running TV show. No, it's very strange. Yeah, maybe in premise, Brandon, but just the package that is.
I definitely did not mean the movie as it is. Just if they had made that movie fourth, I think it would have been a better.
But it's also
movie.
I don't know. I'm not totally sure even where you're coming from on that, because the other thing too is it feels like a consummate TOS episode as far as the premise and the ultimate ending of it goes. You know what I mean? Like it's that would have been had it been a little bit more compact and a little bit more character driven, and the characters had been allowed to emote at all. It would have been a really good gap bridger between that as a TV show and that as a movie, because again the visual effects and everything are stunning, and it's a consummate TOS premise. And also, it's nice to start with that and then do a sequel to a TOS episode, as opposed to coming out the gate swinging with a sequel to a TOS episode.
Those are definitely good points.
So even if it's a way better movie, I still think it makes more sense that you would have made that first. The problem wasn't necessarily the premise of it.
Sure. Some of the execution, like you said, pacing is a big problem in that movie.
Yeah, like, of course. Okay, what else?
All right, got 9 super chats now. Bag Studios.
All right. Yeah, we will blow
off
through them
topic.
if we can.
This is a fun one. This is like he's got like 3 questions in here. Off topic. Do you wish Watchmen HBO was a sequel to the movie? Should it have been? And what would it have changed?
I like that question a lot. At the end of the day, I have to say no, just because I don't want to rewrite that show too much. I love what's done with the squid so much. You can't tell that story anything like the way it is if it's a sequel to that movie. You can't do Dr. Manhattan the way you did it, and you can't do the
Looking Glass.
Say it again.
Looking Glass is all based on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't do yeah, because he wouldn't have had the hangups that he has and the fears that he has if it was simply Dr. Manhattan. Like he's or if what happened to the city at the end of that movie was blamed on Dr. Manhattan. Like that whole show doesn't work without that. So
yeah, and we both love the movie, but I love the show too. So I wouldn't change it either.
Yeah, now, could that have been retooled in some way in order to be a sequel to the movie? I suppose so, but it would have been a very different thing.
Yeah, I think you would have. If you started from that place, it would have been a whole different story. It wouldn't have been the same thing, and it still could have been great.
Yeah, that's a great question, though.
The second part of that, not related at all.
Yeah.
Favorite soda.
I don't drink soda anymore. Mine was always Mountain Dew, and always probably will be forevermore. I have the same thing alcoholics do. Well, I have the same thing alcoholics do. I think I am still kind of a soda-aholic. I just choose not to drink it anymore, and I'm really careful about it. So, like, alcoholics say they remain an alcoholic even if they're not drinking alcohol. I think I have that with soda. I think I was absolutely, legitimately a soda addict. And so, yeah, my favorite remains Mountain Dew, but I can't drink it anymore. Partly because I always drink too much of it. I could not get to a moderation place with that. I couldn't drink one a week. I would do that for a while, and then I've been able to cold turkey or drink it constantly. I cannot find a middle place with soda. And after that kidney stone I had, that I'm pretty sure was caused by soda, I'm just not going to do it anymore. That was the worst. That was the worst thing ever. I would rather go through. I'll say this. I would rather go through the surgery I just went through, which we found out that I had that cancerous tumor in my kidney because I had that kidney stone. I would go through that again 3 times.
Yeah, you've mentioned
before
that.
I would get that kidney stone one more time.
I have the same thing with the Coca-Cola that you had with the Mountain Dew.
Well, you should.
All or nothing.
You should quit. You don't want a kidney stone.
No.
Studios,
I got a couple years.
Bag Studios said, I guess I should have specified that one for the co-hosts.
Oh, sure.
But no, you shouldn't, because I haven't had soda in like 17 years, 18 years, or like, no, since I was like 15. So
really?
I don't have a favorite soda either. So, Brandon, do you have a favorite soda?
Coca-Cola. It's the best tasting drink in the world.
Okay, well, there you go. There's a good answer.
Yeah, Brandon's a Coke addict. I found out something insane, by the way, Brandon.
What's that?
First of all,
I also collect Coca-Cola memorabilia.
Well, and this is related to that. So I'm gonna have like a little silly side conversation with Brandon for a minute. So Brandon, something that I didn't tell you about is instead of getting that Game Gear fixed, I went ahead and just bought another one.
Okay.
So I have a working one now.
Okay.
'Cause I found somebody on Marketplace that had one.
Oh wow.
And so I've got a working one now. The other one I'm just gonna sell for parts. And then I was doing some research on the Game Gear, and I found out that back in the day, with handhelds like that especially, but a lot of consoles, there are a lot of different kind of like variations that got made, and I had never seen this with a console before. There is a Coke branded, like officially licensed Game Gear in red. I'll find it and show it to you. That's
cool.
Gorgeous. It's super cool looking.
So was it like an advertising ploy or like just a marketing thing?
Well, I mean,
it
must have been.
It's a marketing thing, but like
name any other reason that would get made.
But like, did Coca-Cola specifically commission it, or was it like also like you could win this through another company, type of thing?
I'm pretty sure you could buy it.
Oh, that's cool.
Like there are some of them floating around.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't just like a prize thing.
Oh my
goodness. If that's what you're saying. But no, I mean they made this.
That is
I don't know how many of them they made,
Wow.
but yeah, no, that's real.
I thought you were going to tell me there was like a Coca-Cola game, and that I would find more believable. This is amazing.
Yeah, well, and a lot of soda games and things like that got made, but I don't know if there was ever a straight like Coke game.
So the other day at a garage sale, I found a guy who was selling Coca-Cola memorabilia, as like all soda memorabilia from like over the decades, and he had a glass 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola, complete with its original lid. It's from the late 70s. That was a cool find.
Okay, Bag, I would love to go back to Watchmen with you, but we've only got 10 minutes left of the show, so I can't talk anymore about that right now. But I wanna. DJ, what else we got, man?
John Ty, were there moments when you stopped to think that you are the villain of your story, when you thought you were doing the right thing, but in reality it was the wrong thing?
Well, that's getting a little personal, is it? Is it not? Sure. I mean, I think everybody's had that kind of experience before. I think we do tend to think of ourselves, at least if we have, any confidence in ourselves at all. I mean, maybe you're in kind of a dark place where you don't think of yourself as the protagonist of your story. But I think for the most part, most of us tend to think that way. I think we're kind of
supporting character.
I think we're kind of, yeah. Well, and people, I think do sometimes, depending on their personality, feel that way too, Brandon. But I mean, I think by and large, because of the way we're wired to try to defend ourselves, protect ourselves, we tend to kind of be selfish creatures for the most part overall, right? And so kids always, or at least a lot of kids, I think, especially imaginative kids, tend to have that point in their early childhood where they wonder if they're the only thing in the universe, and they can't get into other people's heads. They're not telepathic, so they don't have any way to prove that everything else around them is not just something that they have somehow created out of their own imagination, that sort of thing. So I think we do tend to think of ourselves as, if not the hero of our story, at least the center of our universe in some way, to some degree. And so the place where you would become the villain of your story would be the place where you no longer trust yourself, and you start to kind of question yourself and second guess decisions you're making. And I think that happens to people too, but I think it tends to be temporary. I think at the point that you decide that you are the villain of your story, and if you actually accept that, that's when you turn into like a monster or something. And we've seen that a lot in superhero movies and stuff, where you have a bad guy who says, no, I am the villain, and they accept that, and then that's how they justify doing all the evil things that they do. No, I am the villain. But Lex Luthor in Smallville, I am the villain of the story. But anyway, I can't really pinpoint like a specific place where I've ever had exactly that thought in my own personal life. There have been places where I thought certainly I was doing the right thing, and then I realized that I have made a mistake. But I don't think I would ever go as far as to say that I ever thought I was like the villain. Yeah.
There are also people out there who become the villain who don't understand that they're the villain as well.
Well, yeah, of course. Blue Dragon 5, I am the ill intent. Yeah, I had that thought too, from Daredevil. Anyway, what else, Mr. DJ?
John Ty gives us another one. Which is more cynical, to tell the truth because the truth hurts, or to tell a lie because it hurts less?
Okay, read that one more time. And then let's try to get like some pop culture questions if we can. Sean, thanks for the super chats, man. I don't have enough time to really delve into some of these more philosophical things.
Yeah, which is more cynical?
Yeah.
Interesting. To tell the truth because the truth hurts, or to tell a lie because it hurts less?
Probably the second, but it's a depends question. It really depends on the situation and how extreme how extreme that scenario is, right? I would say.
Yeah. I don't know if either of them are necessarily cynical, but I don't know why you use the word cynical. But yeah. I mean,
I guess maybe he's thinking cynical in the sense that if you feel like you have to like do what is usually considered a bad thing in order to make a good thing happen, maybe that's inherently like cynical thinking. Maybe that's what he's thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Mr. Roboto.
That ends up being like a ends-based ethics versus like virtue ethics kind of situation. But I mean, like, also at the end of the day, those two things can sort of be on par, be the same thing. Yeah, you have like lies by withholding the truth and that sort of thing.
Mr. Roboto just says about the earlier topic.
Yeah,
physical always wins, Cap, because it's real.
Sure, I guess, but it's also like kind of halfway in both now, which is really sticky when we're talking about video games, where you put it in your system and you're still at the mercy of downloads and updates and things. Like, even if you have the thing forever and you can always download it to the system, there are probably games that if there's no longer any online support for and you can't do an update, you get a lot more limited in what you can do with the game, or maybe it won't even run at all. Like, we're not in a place anymore with physical media beyond DVDs and Blu-rays where where forevermore you'll be able to put it in your system and it will do the thing you want it to do. And so that becomes almost this half-breed thing, you know? It's like a Frankenstein monster where like it's both digital and physical simultaneously. Like, I don't know, just if physical video games now are kind of just there to make you feel like you're getting a thing that it's not exactly what you wish you were getting. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's a quick one from John Ty. Are you good at small talk?
Sorry, to the earlier thing we were talking about a second ago, Mutali makes a good point. He says, I think the cynical, as in you don't think people can handle the truth, so you have to make something up. Yeah, you're not giving people the benefit of the doubt and trusting them to be able to handle something. So you think you know better than them, so you're going to hang on to. And how many episodes of crappy TV shows have we had to sit through with protagonists who have to repeatedly learn the lesson of let the person you're trying to save make their own decisions for themselves.
It's like 70% of Friends.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
John Ty asks, are you good at small talk?
I would have to say yes. I think sometimes I think I'm speaking deeply, and it actually is small talk in the first place. I also think that sometimes I find small talk irritating, and I don't want to do it when you get in like a social situation with somebody that you've just met, and they just want to talk about something kind of innocuous and sort of shallow. But if I actually engage, I think I'm decent at that. I don't know.
I mean, we've had small talk conversations over the years. Like, usually we talk about broader topics, but I'd say you're fairly good at it. I don't think that I'm necessarily that great at it. In a lot of situations, I'd rather talk about something more meaningful than, something.
I also think that everybody's definitions are different, Brandon, because, like, I like more substantial conversations as well, but the things that the more substantial things I like to talk about are... It tend to be kind of like more hypothetical or philosophical, if I have to use that word, or whatever. And you like talking about a lot of down-to-earth real things that bore me to tears. that somebody like me might think of as small talk, but to you they aren't. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, when you
now,
start,
don't get me wrong, I do like philosophical stuff too, but I'm
not saying you
I
don't.
Like to talk
but,
more about the physical realm and like factual stuff.
But you'll just start going on about like a building down the street and the history of it, and to some people that's small talk.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
okay.
To you that's substantial. So
sure.
I don't think we can all even agree on what that necessarily means.
Subjection.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm actually not all that good at small talk, because I tend to like to get more substantial when somebody is trying to be really surface. So they'll be like, no, I'm terrible at this now that I'm thinking about it. I guess it depends on what we're talking about. I may be okay with small talk if we're talking about like, the weather.
Yes.
Or like
that's what I was going
or like
for.
Just how's work or whatever. But when it comes to what did you think of that superhero movie that just came out, you can't ask me that question and expect small talk.
No, of course not.
And people do it. I'm not good
You're
at it.
In-depth analysis after your first word.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I'm careful not to go 20 minutes, but like, you know, somebody
Except when we're
if somebody
reviewing
says
something on the couch or something.
right, because that's a video we're
Well,
making.
yes,
that's
but-
not small talk.
No, but like you'll start to get into that.
Right.
Just on,
but that's
on
just
the regular.
That's just what I do. What's your point?
Well, I'm backing you up on this.
Okay. Everybody knows what I'm like when I'm on camera and talking about a movie.
But even
I'm
when
just
you're
saying
not
that
on camera.
when I'm talking to a person, they're like, "What did you think of that?" I always want to answer, "Do you really want to know?" You know what I mean? Like, are we having this conversation, or did you want like 5 words? Because I can't do that. I can't, you know. And often people want you to just like parrot back the experience they had. So if somebody like saw a movie that I thought was dreadful, but knowing them, I know they probably liked it. I don't even like answering that question because I can't be honest with them. I'm gonna say, "No, it sucked." They go, "What? I thought it was great." Like, but you don't actually really want to have a debate, right? You don't really want to have a conversation about it, right? If you do, I'm happy to do that. But usually, the people anyway that I'm thinking of right now, just want you to go, "Oh no, that movie was great," and then move on. You know.
But there's also the type of small talk that's like the water cooler conversation where it's just for the sake of you're standing there, you want to be awkward silent, or do you want to actually just say something for the sake of saying something?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a little bit of that. Oh, how are you? Oh, I'm doing okay. Like just nothing burgers. Like you could even be lying. But it's still, small talk.
Yeah, Blue Dragon 5, he says pleasantries are small talk. Yeah, and sometimes people want you to, get into pleasantries when the question they ask is inherently a critical one.
A lot of places in Europe, they don't understand, like, American
That's a pet peeve of mine. I don't like that.
For small talk. And they'll like.
I guess I don't totally get it either. Yeah.
You ask them how they're doing, and they go, "Well, do you really want to know?"
really want to know?
Like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you. That's kind of how I am with it. Like, I'll just get into it. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily lie to you. Like, if there's something going on, I might tell you. So
don't ever ask Brandon how he's doing, is what he's saying.
Well, we found that out last week, didn't we?
Yeah, but I don't think anybody was even like, "How's Brandon doing?" I don't remember what that. I don't remember why you launched into a series of complaints about your personal life that day. I cannot remember what led to
I
that.
believe I was asked.
That did happen. Carl wants to know how Brandon is doing.
Actually, since I got off work, not bad. Work was hectic, but got through it.
Oh, well, we're always glad to have you, Brandon.
We are right at an hour. How many more super chats do we have, sir?
About 8.
Oh no, that
8
many?
or 9.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let's try to cut those off. We're gonna ask for no more super chats. We're gonna blow through these as fast as possible. Go ahead, DJ.
All right. T-Edge 1. Are video game ratings as contradictory as movies and TV?
Contradictory. I don't know what you mean by that word.
I think they're trying to say, like, do they line up? Are they as arbitrary as, like?
Yeah, if that's what we're talking about, but I don't know what
Or
you.
he could be
what you
talking
mean by
about. He could have said contradictory because a lot of people say that our rating system, violence compared to like sexual and nudity content is like backwards. I don't know if that's what he's talking about or something.
Yeah, I want to say video games are maybe a little bit more fair and accurate about that, but I also think that part of that is, and I don't know if I'm right about that, but I also think that part of that is just because there's not, well, I'm not totally sure how to answer that. What I wanted to say was there's maybe not the sort of variety, or maybe it's just an issue of like you don't have the same kind of disparity that you do between PG-13 and R that you do with teen and mature in video games. So what I mean is there aren't a lot of video games these days, I don't think, where there would be a lot of sexual content but hardly any violence, so you wonder why that would get an M rating, but then you got like beheadings and stuff and that gets an M. Yeah. I think when there's a lot of like adult content in a game, it all tends to kind of fall in adult. I guess what I'm saying is I tend to, with the few modern games that I look at, I tend to agree with the ratings on them more often than I agree with the ratings with movies.
Yeah, he clarifies in another super chat, like with PG-13 not fitting some movies. So I guess he means the rating contradicting the actual
So like more
movie,
arbitrary.
the actual game.
Yeah, do we mean that like there's a lot of is he talking about PG-13 movies where it should have gotten a lower rating or a higher rating? But
Maybe
like
both.
but like regardless, yeah, I think games are
Yeah.
are more accurately rated and have a better ratings board in general than movies do.
That's a good way to put it. Accuracy in rating.
Yeah, but I also feel like games are just like M, and then they have everything in them. It's like, I don't know. There's not a lot of like range.
Tom in a super chat says like with PG-13 not fitting some movies. I think we just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, as I just said. And then.
Oh, were you reading his super chat when he said that?
Yes.
I thought you were just talking. Okay, I'm sorry. Good.
Yeah. Tyler Parker says Telltale, Batman, and Walking Dead are the only games I own digitally because of the episodic releases.
Sure.
So yeah, I guess that would be a reason to get them digitally, because you can't if you can't wait for the whole season to come out, kind of like a television show.
And like I said, there's just there are like 2D platformers and things that come out that just never go physical that I would have to get digitally if I wanted to play them at all. And so I guess I've given up on physical when it comes to video games. Maybe that's premature to some people, but I just feel like we're headed there anyway. Like I'm not gonna win this. So like my options are to either just not play anything current ever, which I'm not playing a whole lot anyway. But I mean, like that's kind of my option, or to just play digital. And my worry is always that 20 years down the line I'm not going to be able to play things for one reason or another that I purchased that I wish I owned but only sort of own. But again, I still feel that way with disc too. Any way you slice it, that's going to be a problem now, because of the way those were handled. I would have a completely different attitude about this if the games actually loaded from the discs. Would have a totally different attitude about it. Mm-hmm. Avenue Pad says Nintendo Switch still makes sense to go physical. Yes, it does, absolutely, but not discs. And I'm hoping that maybe Nintendo being behind like they tend to be, we still maybe have a couple generations left. That's my hope. But
well, even some Switch games you have to wait for them to load.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, they're basically just keys. Mm-hmm. 5590 ERS. Have you guys played Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy?
I played the first chapter and didn't care for it. I may go back to it at some point, but yeah, I wasn't really digging it. I thought the pacing of that was really odd and slow. I thought the writing was really generic. It wasn't funny to me, and it kept trying to be, and it just seemed like it wanted to be, the movie humor and movie pacing, and it didn't seem to get what Gunn was doing. So it was trying really hard to be James Gunn, and it just wasn't really working. So I wasn't really impressed with that first chapter, but maybe it'll win me over if I ever go back to it.
Next from John Ty. How does one not become cynical when people in their life disappoints them?
I don't know, John.
That's a personal attitude thing. You have to, if you can get over something faster rather than slower. Like, I know my dealings with the public have made me more cynical, and like there's some things that I couldn't get over that doesn't stop me from trying.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to let one bad experience like spoil all of your relationships. I guess I would hope that that wasn't happening to you with everybody in your life, and that you had other good friends and family that can help you put things into perspective. I also think that if you can find a good therapist, therapy is good. It's not always easy to find somebody that's compatible with you, but I think that can help you find that perspective as well. And I'm not joking when I say that. I swear by therapy. I think it's a good thing. Okay.
Yep, so do I. I agree. Mr. Roboto gives us his $2 super chat. They needed to remake Trek the motion picture.
They needed to remake it? Like when?
That's what I got, man. I don't know.
that movie could absolutely be improved upon. I think it would have been really weird, Brandon, if that had been the pitch for '09. If it was like, we're going to reboot by remaking the motion picture.
I agree with that sentiment. Like, why would you remake that
Let's
movie?
turn that into an action movie. And also, the problem with remaking motion picture, too, is it has something of an O. Henry ending, right? Like, that ending ends
certainly
with this big shocker where this thing that was putting Earth in danger the whole time turns out to be something, the last thing you would expect. You'd have to give it a different ending. You wouldn't want all roads leading to the same place, because if you'd seen motion picture, you'd know what was going to happen. V'ger couldn't surprise you.
Exactly. I mean, but to that point, Khan didn't surprise us either. They did remake that one, so...
Yeah, but they pretended like they didn't, and that was
That's
a
true.
whole thing.
And
And
they did a bait and
09
switch
was
with,
already something
Kirk
of a
and
remake
Spock.
of Wrath of Khan, just like Nemesis was. So yeah, there's that. But like, when we say remake, do we mean just like thinly veiled remake, where you're trying to dupe people into thinking that it's an original thing, but you're really just ripping off a thing that was popular? Or are we talking about like actually trying to improve on something that was okay but could be much better? Like, if you know what I would do?
What's that?
Hey DJ, this is going to be mostly a joke. So what I would do with motion picture is I would have the big surprise at the end be that V'ger was actually Voyager the whole time, like the TV show Voyager. That was like from the future, and it came back in the past, and it became V'ger somehow. And that like and that
Voyager
it was
is just kooky enough that could happen.
Yeah, and that it was like Janeway speaking through Decker, like the
It'd be a
Decker
clone of
unit,
Barry Kim.
like another one.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. V'ger would be.
It would kill Harry Kim.
You heard it
and
here,
clone
folks.
Him.
First, that's how you do it. That would have blown everyone's minds. Anyway, okay.
Next is from Pandora.
Voyager would have gotten their movie.
Once again, we open Pandora's box. Okay, go ahead.
I'm really excited about the new Avengers game and hope they're incorporating Kamala Khan into the story. It's nice to see a lesser-known character included on the team. I'm a big fan of her comics.
I mean, they've been selling it pretty hard on her, right? That's Miss Marvel, so I'm assuming she's part of the story. Be weird if she was, in a lot of the promotional material. And they've released some gameplay and cutscenes and stuff. I haven't looked at it because I like to be surprised by games as much as I can. So I mean, inevitably, that being a big AAA superhero thing, I'm gonna have to play it regardless of whether I'm really excited about it or not. I still can't get jonesed about that premise and I don't know, just for some reason, like a Team Avengers game, like as an action game, does not excite me at all. But I'm sure it will be great, and I'll be won over as soon as I sit down and play it. I just can't, yeah, and especially because it looks like the movies. I don't know. I can't get excited about it, but I'll play it, and hopefully it'll be great. But I hope it's not that Two-Face situation from Arkham City a few years ago, or several years ago now, where he was all over the advertising, and then he didn't really have all that much to do with that game. I'm sure that's not what they're doing with Miss Marvel. I'll be real surprised if she's not a huge part of that story.
All right, and the last question is from John Ty. How do you come off, I don't know if this is directed at you or just the proverbial you, how do you come off friendly online when people hate you?
Well, I don't think it's possible if enough people hate you. I think if you're like a big, YouTube celebrity and you have a bad reputation and you haven't been able to shake that reputation, it doesn't matter if you are super smiley and nice to everybody all the time. That will just come off as fake. I think that gets to be a real sticky, difficult situation. I think. I mean, I've seen some of this kind of YouTube drama, particularly in like the video game sphere, and it's really hard to say what advice I would give to a person in that situation. And I've never been there. I've never had like the majority of my audience turn against me because of some stupid mistake I made on air, or something I said publicly that I shouldn't have said, or somebody that some other YouTuber that I attacked or something.
I turned against you years ago, as you know.
Sure, yeah, but you're just one person, you know. You weren't able to like rally an army behind you.
That's
so
true.
So yeah, so
You're not a leader.
I've never really dealt with that kind of thing myself. So it's hard to say what I would do if I was in that situation. You get a lot of people. I know we're not just talking about YouTubers, but I was just using that as an example. But I mean, actually, what was the question? I can't even remember now. Was the question specifically YouTubers? It was online personalities. Yeah, okay. But like,
not even personalities. Just how do you come off friendly online? So it could be
if people hate you, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
that could be even a commentator. If you just post a comment on a thing and people turn against your comment, and you try to, save face, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I would say the first thing you'd want to do is back off for a while. You don't want to protest too much. You don't want to lay things on too thick. You don't want to be too insanely apologetic. And if you are going to do a public apology, you got to do your level best to be as sincere as possible. And if you're not sincere, don't make one.
And that can still turn people off more against you too.
Sure, but you hope that the majority of people can tell the difference. Of an actual sincere apology and like an apology tour kind of apology. Some people think that you have to do that regardless of whether you mean it. I don't agree with that. I think if you don't mean it, you should just go away and find something else to do. Probably, you know what I mean? You're probably never going to pick up the pieces of that anyway. But it probably, I don't know. But, and then, yeah, I mean, if everybody's against you, or if too many people are against you, I think it's really easy to like try to be, to try to ignore it and like you were saying, trying to be friendly, be too friendly. So yeah, I think you gotta go away for a little while, and then try to, I don't want to say reinvent yourself, but you got to be self-aware. You don't want to just completely ignore a thing and act like it never happened. But you also don't want to spend all your time talking about it. And it really depends on what the situation is. I mean, it can be really difficult to come back from a thing like that.
You can apply that to just about anything, though, even offline, because there are certainly people.
Sure.
If you're in the public eye at all, it's the same thing.
Rebuilding trust is or even just with your friends and stuff. With your family. If you did something to make people lose trust in you. But I think at that point, coming off friendly is the least of your problems.
True enough, but also, it would be very, very hard to do so at that point.
Well, yeah, because at that point, people aren't trusting what you're saying anyway.
So do your best and back off for a little while, I think is the answer there.
But anyway, DJ, anything else we gotta make sure and tackle before we end the show this evening?
That is it. That is all, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this topic and all the other random, interesting questions that came up this evening. We will see you again next Thursday night for another Captain Logan show and probably a live show on Tuesday as well. DJ, I'm thinking maybe a commentary. We haven't done one in a couple weeks, so maybe we'll do a commentary Tuesday, unless some other crazy thing happens that we want to chat about and do another Captain Logan show. We kind of play this by ear a little bit. Sometimes it's warranted to come on and do this show on an extra day on Tuesday, and sometimes there's not a lot going on, and we want to get some movie commentaries in there too. So anyway, regardless, we will probably see you guys on Tuesday, and I'll be back with some more content over the weekend. I want to try, if I can find the time, to live stream a playthrough of the Power Rangers miniatures game. I've been playing that a lot with my kids. I've been doing a lot of painting. Brandon's played it once. It'd be cool to get you over for that too if we had time, yes. Brandon. Especially so that it's not just me and a couple of kids on camera. People probably appreciate it.
Those do make great videos, though. I mean, and what are you getting when you get me anyway? I'm just basically a little kid sometimes too. So
yeah, but with a beard, it adds credibility. Anyway,
do I not look distinguished?
So yeah, I just want to show that off. I don't know how much interest there's going to be in that, but I want to show that off to people because and give Renegade some support, because I think that what they're doing is just absolutely spectacular there. And I'm not a big board game guy, and I'm loving this thing, and I've gotten kind of obsessed with it. I can't stop playing.
You've definitely got into the nitty gritty of this one.
I have. I got DJ. I got the last of the boxes in the mail, so I have everything they've made now.
Oh, you got the thing?
Yeah,
wow.
I have all of it, and until September when they put out the next expansions. So
you're on it.
Yeah,
get those pre-orders.
I'm excited about it. I have. I backed the Kickstarter. because they have a Kickstarter for each one of them, and that's the only way you get the exclusive stuff. Well, it's not the only way, because I've gotten all the exclusive stuff now, but I got lucky with a couple of things, so I don't want to, hedge my bets too much. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain. Brandon, thanks for being here, buddy.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're not social distancing. But DJ and I are. We're social distancing. Anyway. Ow! Oh, it was a fist bump.
Fist bump. No,
Excuse
I
me.
like the punching aspect better.
Yeah, he's always punching me in the face. I don't know why. Anyway, thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan. That was Brandon Graham and DJ Martinez. Later, everybody.